Well, I've been the Member of Parliament for Kingston and Surbiton since 1997. I got elected when I was a lot younger, had a lot more hair, slimmer, with a majority of just 56 votes. I was the first ever non-Conservative MP, and this area tends to be a battle between the Liberal Democrats, my party, and the Conservatives. People thought Europe wasn't going to stay as a leader in climate change. So I had set up a group called the Green Growth Group, which was a group of European ministers, like myself, involved in energy and climate change, who were ambitious on climate change, think it's important as I do, and we worked together over a period of time, really good European collaboration, and we managed to get the Commission in a more ambitious place and to persuade countries who otherwise wouldn't have been so keen, like Poland, to go for an ambitious target. So I've spent quite a long time in this Parliament sort of leading the charge in Europe to get that. And for me, it's important that Europe reduces emissions, because obviously we're developed countries, some of the richest in the world, so we need to play a leadership role. But also it has a knock-on effect for others. And interestingly, after the October agreement in Europe, a month later, China and the United States made some pledges. The world's been trying to do a global climate change deal for nearly 20 years, over 20 years. But this year, 2015, is a very important year for those long-running climate change negotiations. And in Paris in December this year, the world's got the chance of signing the first ever global climate change deal that applies to all countries. It's never happened before. So it's a big year for climate. If we can pull this off, it would be very special. The challenge is, will the deal be good enough? Will it commit the world to taking the action that we need to be able to stop global warming getting to dangerous levels? Climate change is one of the most serious challenges facing the world today. We're already seeing the impact in many countries, including the UK. We're seeing more flooding as the sea levels rise. And the sea's rising far faster than people actually thought, as the polar ice caps melt, as glaciers melt, as heat expands the ocean. We don't know if we can get to the shale gas that's in the UK and whether it's going to be economically possible to get it out. It might be technically possible to get it out, but whether it's competitive or not, particularly with the fall in oil and gas prices. So it's possible that we could have a lot of shale gas out there, and as long as we do it in a sustainable way and we have tough environmental regulations, which I've ensured are there, then I see no problem with exploring to see if there's that opportunity. So if you're looking at it from a purely climate change point of view, shale gas that we could recover here, properly regulated, could be much better for the environment than getting gas from the other side of the world. So I think some of the debate on shale gas has not been terribly well informed on both sides. Some people hype it up and say it's going to save everything and it will reduce prices and so on. That's just not true. I think there's a case for it, but we shouldn't hype that case. On the other side, we've got people who, if you believe them, shale gas is going to destroy our countryside and be a disaster. Well, there's no evidence of that either. I've worked over nearly 18 years to improve and preserve and save some of our local services. So at Kingston Hospital, I was very much involved in the campaign, led the campaign to get the new A&E unit, which opened in 2002. When the last Labour government was threatening to close the A&E maternity unit before the last election, I led the campaign to stop that. Now, I personally think provision of the NHS often is much better done by the public sector. But to exclude other operators, whether they're not-for-profit or private, to exclude them totally also doesn't make sense. That's why, as a Liberal Democrat, I really think one has to take a much more balanced approach, which we have done. I've led campaigns for the new Surbiton Health Centre, for the Merit Medical Centre in Chessington. So you can see the NHS has been a big part, and the Conservatives have not been very good, if I'm honest with you, in supporting those types of campaigns. And I'd say the next one is education. Education is dear to my heart, and I'm very proud that Liberal Democrats in this coalition have delivered the pupil premium to help the most disadvantaged children in our society, free school meals for infants, apprenticeships for young people who don't want to go on to university, and so on. This is practical things that Liberal Democrats have delivered in government. And locally, the challenge has been to make sure we've got enough school places. So, for example, I campaigned for a new school in Surbiton, just 300 yards from where we're sitting. And the Conservatives opposed me. They opposed that campaign, even though we desperately needed those school places. And I'm very aware that the new Conservative-led Kingston Council isn't pushing ahead further and faster to make sure we have those school places. The Liberal Democrats actually are one of the best performing councils in London in providing school places despite the massive and sudden increase in demand. So it's been a real challenge, but I've worked with the council and I just hope the Conservative council will do as good a job as the Liberal Democrats did.